Hello. We welcome you in the media center of Ukraine in Ukrinform. Today we have the 210th day since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Russia to Ukraine. And as of today, we are dedicating this day to Kharkiv region, which recently had to celebrate or remark the Day of the Region. And an incredible gift from the armed forces of Ukraine for this day was the liberation, in fact, of almost all of the territory of Kharkiv region. Our first briefing, the guest of our first briefing is Oksana Ivanets, Lieutenant Colonel, Special Correspondent at Army Inform News Agency. And Oksana had an opportunity now to go along the liberated Kharkiv region to see everything with her own eyes, to communicate with people. So we'd like to get to know from you, Oksana, about the operational and humanitarian situation at the deoccupied territories. Hello, Oksana. Hello to you as well. I wouldn't say that I visited all over the territory. Those were several deoccupied settlements, but of course we will go on with these press tours since tomorrow. Where have you been? What did you see? What are the moods among the local population? What impressed you most of all during these visits? Well, as for the recently liberated settlements, that was Balaklia, Chkalivske, a little village, and Izum. So what was the first thing which impressed me? Really the mood of our people. They were waiting for Ukraine. They were waiting for our armed forces. Those were people of elderly age, 60 plus years old, and they had the flags of Ukraine and little flags. They were waving their flags and trying to hug all of us. People were waiting, yes, they were. And secondly, ruined Izum, town of Izum, it's destroyed. It's what impressed me most of all. It's destroyed almost for 80%. It used to be a very convenient, comfortable for life city that had a very interesting historical center before. So only walls sometimes and rubble is left of the buildings. Whatever is intact doesn't have windows. The windows were smashed out. Their roofs are not there. Izum and all over the settlements in liberated part of Kharkiv region, they don't have gas supply, water supply. They have critical situation with the food products. Now, our local authorities began to bring humanitarian aid. Yesterday I could see long queues where people could get the necessary packages of products. As of the work of our authorities, they do incredible things now. Just the day before yesterday, during the briefing, the head of the local administration of Kharkiv region, Mr. Sinyahubov, announced that maybe this week or next week there will be a power supply restored in Balaklia. Do they have mobile connection there, coverage and cell phone communication? And visually, how much of population is left here? Half of what used to be or less? Or are the streets full of people? Well, as of Izum, there were not that many people. As far as I understand, the people were afraid to leave their residential buildings because the week before the liberation of the city, the occupiers just prohibited, they banned them from leaving their houses. The city was totally destroyed. The fire was all over the city, so people were not that numerous. As of communication, during the first day when we came to Izum, that was last week, if I'm not mistaken, on Wednesday, or maybe Tuesday, there was no connection at all. Yesterday, mobile communication was already restored. There is no internet still. But 3 cell phone operators are already present in Izum. As of Balaklia, they also didn't have any cell phone coverage there when I was there, but there are more numerous people. Well, because the Balaklia is not that big in comparison with Izum. Maybe that's why we had this impression. As for Chkalevsky, there was no cell phone coverage there. People were really not numerous. I know that lots of people from Chkalevsky left through the territory of Russian Federation. That is why what is happening now with them, so far I can't tell you. Got it. Could you share any personal stories which you could see with your own eyes, or maybe you heard from the local residents? What are the moods, and how are people feeling today, before the winter, being in the semi-destroyed cities? Yes, there are very numerous stories, beginning with the children. When a child of 6-year-old asked her mother, "Mom, who are they?" and Mom had, not to scare the child, she had to tell that those were the soldiers, but she did not compare that they came to kill. And when the child saw the soldiers in a different uniform, the mother was already ready to tell that these soldiers came to protect us. And also a story about the woman of 1939 date of birth, year of birth, who could not get to the basement because of her elderly age. She lived in the semi-destroyed building of hers. And now, when it has become colder, she says that so far she covered the windows which were smashed out with something, with some pillows or carpets. The woman who lived through the atrocities of the World War II, her brother and father died at the front line, and she, together with her mother, got to the concentration camp in Poland. And then her mother died there. So this woman is always asking the question, what was that? Why is that? She still cannot believe that something like that happened again, that Russia turned out not to be an elder brother for us, but an enemy, and came to kill us. And the people who were living in the basements during these 5 months, there was a small basement, pre-revolutionary times, with high ceilings, but the premises itself is not that big. And then there were 62 people living there. The youngest was a month-year-old, the oldest was 90 years old. She could not get up, so she needed special conditions of stay. But people were united there, supported each other. And a different basement, another one, where you could be only sitting, because the height of the ceiling did not allow you to stand. It was the only premise where there was the bucket in the corner, and people had to get to this bucket, and everybody could see that. The people from Izum came to get water to the river. There was no water supply, and many people who went to get water did not come back because the Russians just were entertaining themselves, shooting them in the legs. As for Izum, in one of the parts of the cities, there was communication, and cell phone coverage for some period, so people were trying to get there to call their relatives, and many of them did not come back as well. There was a woman who came to Russia. She came to Moscow, and she was trying to tell truth to the people, but nobody believed her. They had such an excuse. But you are castrating our guys there. You are the fascists. And when the woman tried to say, to mention some of the facts, nobody could tell her anything. And I was close to a destroyed 5-storied building where 54 people died who were in the basement. A family, among them a family of 8 persons, that is 3 generations, grandparents, parents and children. That's just horrible. And what I was expressed most of all is the exhumation of our citizens' bodies close to the local cemetery. I think that I will remember that for my whole life with this picture in my mind. That was the most awful, and this is the proof that this so-called special operation is just created to destroy our nation, to ruin our nation. We, of course, could see some of the pictures from this process of exhumation. That is really painful for the whole nation. But let us now speak about what's the development of the current situation. Did the volunteer and charitable organizations get access to the liberated territories who could help with some restoration, recovery, solution of some of the issues, some of the animals even who need some of the treatment, or people, of course? Could you see that? What's happening there? Yes, sure. Just the day before yesterday, the briefing of the minister on reintegration, Ms. Irina Vereshchuk, took place, and she also announced that gradually international organizations began to help, and our organizations as well, the local ones, with humanitarian aid. What I saw yesterday, really, people are getting humanitarian aid and relief, and I see that some of the medical institutions are provided with all the necessary things. I did not see that with my own eyes, but I'm sure that our authorities are doing everything possible to show the people that they are now in Ukraine, that they are the citizens of our country, and our country will treat them well. Thank you. Are there any questions? Just a moment. What's the situation with the demining at the deoccupied territories? Is it safe to move along the streets? Were there any experts who could demine the territories? As far as I know, the process of demining is going on. So far, until the settlement is not demined, the civilians cannot get there. This is what's called stabilization actions. So yes, of course it's compulsory. And yesterday we went along the road and we could see that the deminers and the employees of the state emergency services are working along the road to Izum. Okay, got it. Thank you, Oksana. We're really grateful for your work and for you giving an opportunity through your perception, through your eyes, to see what is happening there. I can tell that the whole Ukraine is in its thoughts with the people on the liberated and occupied territories. I'm sure that soon we will see the whole Ukraine liberated from the occupiers. I'm grateful to you for the information. And by the way, our next briefing, which will take place at 1:30 p.m., will be devoted to the work of the State Emergency Service on demining and the recovery and restoration of the infrastructure in Kharkiv region. So stay with us. The Media Center Ukraine and Ukrinform, thank you for your attention.